forms of power and how they actually relate to leadership. Let's just have a quick recap before we actually look at the further part of the presentation. So French and Raven actually proposed 5 different forms of power, which were classified into positional power and personal power. So basically, positional power was classified into coercive power first. So let's just take a minute, think about Gaddafi. So you can actually think of his coercive regime in Libya. So I think that is a very good example of coercive power for us to actually relate to. The next thing we will look at is legitimate power. So you can probably think of Barack Obama. So Obama is actually known for his status in the United States of America because he is the president, of course. So he's known for his legitimate power. The next example is reward power. So reward power is basically you get something done for you in exchange for actually giving something to someone else. I think let's have a quick thing to relate to this.
You don't have to worry about that, Mark.
Oh, body statement.
So okay, the other form of power is personal power. So personal power basically, the first thing is expert power for us to consider. So you can think of Warren Buffett. So he is an expert in corporate finance, and I think he's known across the world for his expertise in this area. The next form of power is referent power. Think of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I think he is where he is today because everybody likes him and everybody wants to be like him. So at this note, we're going to introduce a very interesting and very important concept which is relevant for all of us in our business lives in the future. It's essential to make sure that you bring a balance between positional and personal power. So it isn't important if you just have your position or you have authority, but it's also important that you weigh that against personal power.
What Ashwini told, let us see pictorially. It's a balance, legitimate power, which is a form of positional power, and a personal power, that is expert power. If a leader does not balance it properly, it could lead to various failures in his leadership style. And in the case studies that we are going to deal further, we will show you all how one power, if was misused, it lead to a severe downfall of that leader.
So yes, to actually add to what Asim said, I think the greatest challenge to all of us in the future and leaders existing today is that we need to learn how to balance positional and personal power. And studies actually show that personal power is actually very important in addition to positional power to make sure you bring about organizational change, employee satisfaction, performance and commitment. So at this point, we will probably understand this concept a little more in detail by looking at a couple of case studies and understanding how, in some instances, where the balance actually worked really well and those leaders were successful, and we will probably look at another case study where everything just went wrong because the balance didn't really exist. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashwini. When we were actually brainstorming on leaders, we couldn't think about anybody else other than Steve Jobs, the man who invented the Princeton empire from his dad's garage. And as for today, Apple is worth around $700 billion, which is close to, which is actually more than Standard & Poor's 500 companies. Okay, now we look at various powers of Steve Jobs. To start with, we look at his expert power. As you all know, he's a technical expert, which gave him immense power among his employees. Going on, we look at his reward power. As head of the most valued company, Jobs had reward points both within and outside Apple. Now, in terms of his legitimate power, he's the CEO of Apple, so he had immense legitimate power. Now, coercive power. Along with Apple products, one of the other things which Jobs was famous for was how he pressurized his employees to get work done out of it. So, but if you look at it overall, he portrayed a good mix of both positional as well as personal power, which made him a phenomenal leader. Now, we got one more person to look at, Salman Khan, not the guy who So, Salman Khan is the founder of Khan Academy. It's changed lives of millions of people, millions of students, both from Africa to Middle East. In fact, I remember referring to Khan Academy during when I prepared the GMAT. So, various powers of Salman Khan. To start with, we look at his legitimate power, founder of Khan Academy, and he's also voted as one of the most influential people by Time Magazine for 2012. Referred power. So how Khan Academy works is a non-profit organization. So it gets funding from almost top companies in and around the world. Now, his expert power. He started off as a hedge fund analyst, got his degrees from both Harvard as well as MIT. Now, again, if you look at it, you can clearly see that he's got a mix of both positional as well as personal power. So it's a fine balance, which again makes Salman Khan a great leader, not an actor.
So coming on to the negative side of how power can be misused, like we have seen two good examples of how leaders can balance their power and be successful in their life and their career. But we had a hard time finding a negative example, but yeah, we finally got a good one. So Carly Fiorina, she had immense power as legitimate power. Like she was the CEO, president, and chairman of the board of HP. She was she was the first female CEO of a Fortune 20 company, and the most powerful woman in business for 6 years in a row for Forbes magazine. And also, she was a very dynamic and headstrong leader. Looking into the expert power, she has an excellent track record with HP. She was the CEO for 7 or 8 years running. And notable achievements were a merger of Compaq and HP. But the problem lied with her preferred power. She was not very likable with the shareholders, the public, and the stakeholders, board of directors. She ultimately lost her image, public image, and finally, the way as of now also, like she's looking into entering politics with Republican Party in US, but still she is not able to find that likability in herself, and finally that led to a downfall in her career as well as personal and a career path also. So this was a disbalance between her referent power and the expert power. So this leads to for us to say like how the disbalance between different powers can lead to a failure in your life. Next. So let's test what we have learned in this 10 minutes now. We have designed a small switch test here. Let's see how it goes. This is basically for to see how the leaders how leaders influence their organization cultures.
Right. So what we've learned is a leader has various powers. He has to balance those powers to be an effective leader. But what is actually a leadership? It's the way he brings his or culture into an organization. And that is what we're going to test. We're going to test if we switch a leader with his culture from one industry to another, what will happen. That's why we thought of it, we call it the switch test. What we're going to look at is working at Facebook versus working in Berkshire Hathaway. So I'm sure all of you had heard about Facebook. Some of you all are on it right now. But how would it be working on Facebook? Working with Facebook. That's what we kind of went ahead and looked at. The Facebook office in Sydney is something similar to this. It's not too far away from here. Pretty interesting. You can see a lot of colors, a lot of lively things. And then we went to the Berkshire Hathaway office. Watch out. Not that great. But anyway, what was important over here is how Mark and Warren look at this. They look at it as an extension of their own personality. The company imbibes the culture that they want to carry forward, and that's what they're really looking. If you look at it even further, it can be, and you look at Mark's office. He wasn't in at the time, but it's vibrant. It's got things going on. It's more young. It's more youthful. Warren, on the other hand, doesn't have a computer in his office. He still communicates with his entire staff via written letters. We didn't get a chance to see his handwriting, but we can assure you it's pretty good. Moving on. What do you think would happen if we switch them? You take Mark, who's got the culture of having fun, people wearing shorts, working out in the gym, in the office, and you throw him into the Berkshire Hathaway office, where people are every day wearing formals, presenting to people much better than us, but still, all of that going on. What do you all think will happen? What will the switch be? Disaster, right? This is what we thought a good picture of a disaster would be. People totally dressed up working out. So what do we take away from this? And this is important for all of us. So when we go out and when we want to be future leaders, we need to have an optimum balance of both the types of powers that we possess. If there is an imbalance in the type of power, we have a higher probability of not being as great a leader as we have the potential to be. It is important for us to balance power, and therefore it is important for us to take this as a lesson moving forward. Obviously, we didn't come out of this at thin air, so we referred a lot of journals. This is probably a lot of inferences that we've made. That's it. Thank you.